Lancey and I, JJ, were just talking about how there's a certain power. And you know what? Kareem is also going to resonate with this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he is.
There's a certain power in cutting off the umbilical cord or pulling away from the teat.
Yeah.
As I'll creepily say. And like kind of like swimming in the ocean, not without a raft necessarily, you know? Lancey just did it himself. You did it earlier in 2019. Kareem did it about 48 hours ago.
Reminds me of a Seinfeld. There's the storm out. Feels so good, the storm out, but then there's the creep back in, the tiptoe back in.
Right? I mean, so Lancey called me up 2 months ago and he's like, man, I kind of feel stuck. Something doesn't feel right. He's working at a restaurant. And he was talking to me about how one of his bosses, right? You're the general manager of the restaurant?
Right.
He had walked off and like went to another job. He's like, I've never seen a guy do that job better than anyone. And he walked away.
Right.
And I was like, well, shit, Lancey, if you respect that guy so much, like, go have a meeting with him. And then I didn't talk to Lancey for like a month. And then I talked to him recently, and he's like, oh, yeah, hey, I had that meeting, and I quit my job, and I now work with this other guy. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. He's like, the only problem is they don't have any shifts for me, so I'm not really working. I'm like, oh, shit, what kind of advice did I give you, man? But Lancey pointed out, like, no, Amr, actually, that was exactly what I needed, right?
Right. Yeah, you got to get outside of that so that you get out of your comfort zone, and once you break that seal, then you're actually standing on your own.
It's like coming out of your mom the first time you're born, breaking that seal.
I thought you said coming out to your mom.
I did. It's like coming out to your mom.
They both break a seal.
Are you talking into the mic, bro?
No, I think
it's way too low. Yeah. There you go. They're both breaking a seal? You're breaking all sorts of seals when you're coming out to your mom, coming out of your mom. All sorts of things are getting broken. But yeah, no, I think you're right, man. You can like once you break that seal, you can like see. You can see the world.
Yeah.
It's like you're seeing the world for the first time.
Yeah, and I don't know for the listeners out there if my advice is tip top right now because I'm making about $1,000 a year at this moment. Once I break that 2K barrier,
listen to everything this guy's got to say.
Yeah, then I might be the Oracle,
the Oracle of Omaha. Did you the Oracle of Chicago? That's what you'll be.
Yeah,
or the Oracle of Mississippi.
Yeah.
None of those really.
The Oracle of the Midwest.
JJ, did you experience that when you left? So what company were you working at before you left?
I worked at a company called Ivy Investments. It's based out of Kansas City. It's a mutual fund company, publicly traded under the ticker WDR for Waddell and Reed because that's the broker dealer as well. They have their own financial advisors. But I'd been there about 10 years, and when I went to explain the book that I had written that I was finishing up writing and I wanted to begin to market it and publish it, saying, hey, I think this would go along well with what we do as a firm, and I just want to make sure I do this legally, compliantly, and all those things. They said, oh, no, we can't have you do that. That's just going to be way too complicated from a compliance standpoint. And so we're going to tell you can't do that if you want to stay employed here. And
that is the epitome of a company getting really, really big, and they really can't see shit anymore. Like when you get really big and fat and bloated, you just can't. You become blind in a way. It's like David versus Goliath. Goliath was so damn big that really he couldn't kind of see very well.
Right.
And David was actually able to take him out.
Right.
So JJ, you about to take out Waddell and Reed single-handedly?
Well, they may take themselves out the way the stock price is going. And
is that right?
It wasn't. I wasn't having a blast and having a lot of fun and enjoying myself professionally, or I probably wouldn't have taken the time to write the book and do everything else. I probably wouldn't have been going to them and asked them. And I was not a good culture, and I wasn't happy in it. And so instead of just being a miserable employee, I redirected my energy towards writing the book and writing down some of the things that I was talking about anyway professionally. And then when it came time that they didn't want to support that, it just reaffirmed where I was at anyway, that this isn't where I wanted to be. And I decided, if I'm going to publish this book, I don't want to have to ask another company for permission. I don't want to have to do any of that. Let me run with this. Let me do it. And then that will either open the next door or lead me to the next door, or maybe that is the door. We'll see. But it's, I wouldn't go back and do it any other way. It's gotten me to where I need to be mentally to make that next push. I'm in my early 40s, and I feel like, all right, there's something else I'm going to build here, but it's going to be along with this book and this platform. And when they didn't want to support that, then I felt like, well, this isn't where I'm home anyway.
Okay, so to be clear, so the moment you actually walked out of HR's office or whoever's office, when you said, I'm leaving this firm, right? Whose office was it? Your manager, or was it HR, or who?
So the way it worked is I requested to my manager, who I'd known for a long time, I'd worked for a long time, just explained what I was doing. And he came back after talking to legal for, over a month and a half, explained that, hey, they weren't going to support it. It was just going to be too much for them to try to allow me to do. It was actually over a coffee at a Starbucks. And my boss, he says, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I'll let you know when it's your time to know.
Right.
It doesn't make me happy, but if you'd written a book and your company said, hey, you can't do it, what would you do? You'd probably figure out what your options are.
Right.
So I left it at that. And then a couple months went by, and it's building up, and I'm wanting to start to market things. And
you hadn't published
there came a point where I just decided I can't do it anymore. And I called my boss and I said, hey, I'm done.
You called him on the phone?
Yeah.
All right. Yep. And then when you made that call, when it was finally official, like you're walking out of the office for the last time, do you remember that moment?
Oh yeah.
All right. So did you feel like you started to see the world differently? Like did kind of what Lancey's saying, like you broke a seal and you're kind of able to see things differently?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the moment was actually because I traveled and I was on the road. That's why everything was over the phone. I didn't have an office. The office was in my house.
Oh.
I went to lunch with a couple of former colleagues that had left the company as well, and said, hey, this is it. I'm leaving. I'm going to make the call after this. And so we had lunch, and then I actually stepped out and made the call and went back in. And I definitely saw things more clearly at that moment, but it's not like, hey, that was the optimum moment of clarity. Sure. It feel like every day's gotten a little bit clearer.
Oh, is that right?
It just takes time to separate from that to, I feel like, get my own voice back.
Wow, that's a big word. Get my own voice back. Almost like they owned your voice before.
Oh, no, that was a big part of what was bothering me is I've got my own opinions and my own voice, and I was really tired of being a spokesperson for another company who I may or may not agree with. And, a company that over the last 10 years, I disagreed with a heck of a lot more than I had agreed with. And, it was time.
Yeah.